Here's my review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I thought that this movie was great. I think it does a great job of really encapsulating the actual teenage aspect of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because in the previous adaptations, I feel like, whether it's like the Michael Bay films or the 2012 TV show on Nickelodeon, they never really felt like teenagers. And in this one, they really do. Like, they're still young. Some of their voices haven't even changed yet. They're still immature. And it just makes them a lot more fun to be around. And, like, they are just really, really charming throughout. And one of the main aspects in this movie kind of starts off like they're kind of doing some ninja stuff. And eventually they'll meet April O'Neil, who's a reporter. And I thought that she was just great. And she actually has a great character arc where in this movie, like, she talks about how she has stage fright. And over the course of the movie, she begins to get more confident. And I think that this movie just did a really great job of just showing these characters kind of grow over the course of this movie. As for their villains, I think that they are awesome. I don't know all their names, but the main one is Superfly. And his plot, I will say, if I had any kind of complaints about this movie in general, is his plot. I feel like I've seen a couple times. It's basically the plot, like, his scheme, his whole idea is, like, he just wants to turn all the humans into mutants, which is kind of like the same idea of, like, the lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man movie where he just wants to turn the humans into lizards. It's basically the same plot, except in this movie it would actually be permanent, but in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 it was only, like, temporary. But I'm getting off track. But that is his main plan, and it does make sense because, like I said, the whole idea is, like, that they were rejected, and it kind of gives you almost a little bit of, I kind of got Magneto vibes from it, with, like, Magneto feeling rejected, so he wants to take over the world and have mutants rule, and it's basically the same thing with these mutants wanting to take over the world and take over the city. And I thought all the voices were great. Ice Cube was just hilarious as Superfly. He was awesome. And I thought Seth Rogen did a great job as well as, I don't remember the name, but the Warhog guy. And also, Paul Rudd is in this movie playing Mondo Gecko, and he was just one of the funniest parts of the whole movie. Almost every scene with him was great. And I will say, like, you get a lot of these cool mutants, but I wouldn't say that we got to see all of them as much as I would have liked. And I guess that would be one of my main complaints with the villains, but overall I don't really have that much problems. Just wanted more of them. And you get some really awesome action, like, and with this animation being great, really similar to Spider-Verse, it's never boring to look at. And obviously they are ninjas, like, you get some great ninja action. I thought that was really fun, and every single time there was an action scene, just the way it was shown, the way how it is edited and properly shown, like, kind of how whether they're sliding, you kind of see certain, like, little, like, I guess white lines just to show them moving. It's just great. And if I were to have any complaints, I will say that, so in this movie, at the end, Superfly, he basically gets this giant mutation and just mutates with a bunch of other animals. He, like, accidentally falls into the zoo, and it just looks awesome. But in this movie, like, all of the other mutants, whether it's Beepy and Rockstead, like the Warthog guys and the Rhino, and then Mondo Gecko, they, like, kind of join up with the Turtles side, and they're, like, because the Turtles are kind of, like, their main idea is obviously to be a polar opposite, as the Turtles want to be accepted by humans, where as the villain wants to just take over the world because he doesn't think humans will ever accept him. And like I said, I feel like if I had any major complaints, I feel like a lot of the other mutants and his crew just immediately switched up on him, and it felt really sudden. Because this movie's only an hour and 40 minutes, so I guess you didn't get as much time, but we are going to be getting a sequel and a show, which is going to be awesome. But I will say that was kind of my only main complaint with the villains, but overall I thought that they were just great. And as for the little touches, I think Splinter was just great in this movie. I mean, having Jackie Chan voice him is just awesome. And you get to see how much he genuinely cares about his sons, because in some of the other movies or, like, the TV shows, I feel like he never really, because they are never really, even though they're teenagers, they always feel a little too old. You don't really get to see, like, the fatherly bonding, the father-son bonding between them, but in this movie you do get that, and it is great. And obviously it's Jackie Chan, so that's just awesome. And I thought that there were a lot of great character arcs, like with April O'Neil. Like, she has stage fright, and, like, they show her how she, like, vomited when she was like doing even like the morning announcements, and she gets a great character arc. She becomes more confident throughout the film, and I thought that was just great. And like later on when she's reporting the news, she almost vomits, and then she doesn't, and you do feel like happy for her. You do feel like she went through a great arc, even if it's something that I guess would be a little bit silly like that. It's still really well done. And the movie ends with, obviously, they defeat the main villain. They And then all the other mutants, they kind of live in the sewers with them. And I thought that it was just a really good movie. I thought that the ending was great, and it was just a lot of fun throughout. I will say, like, part of me, like, is kind of angry because, like, we're not going to get to see Superfly anymore, because I thought he was great. Ice Cube voiced him, and he was just awesome. So that was a little disappointing, but, like, I'm really curious where they're going to go with this whole franchise, because if the other mutants are living with them, I mean, how's that going to feed into the show? I feel like there's going to be a lot of characters in that show, but overall, I really enjoyed this movie. And let's talk about the post-credit scene for a minute. We get a tease of Shredder. Obviously, Shredder is probably the most iconic villain of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, or just in general, and we're probably going to get him and the Foot Clan in the next movie. And I'm very excited for it, especially with this style of animation, him just being an awesome samurai. I'm very excited for that. He was teased. That was awesome. But yeah, overall, I thought that this movie was great. I thought that the animation was just stunning and so fun to look at. This movie is hilarious. I thought, especially with Armando Gecko, Paul Rudd's character, he was great. But all of them were really funny. And this movie was a lot more emotional than I thought it was going to be, especially with Splinter and the boys. I mean, like, him just being a great father figure to them. And you genuinely care, and, like, you feel bad for when they kind of, I guess, abandoned him. You feel bad for him because earlier in the movie, like, when they first, like, went and explored New York, and then they came back, like, Master Splinter, he, like, redecorated the sewer to be like New York because he just wants to please his sons, and he wants them to be happy. And it's one of those things where it's a cheesy thing, but you just feel so bad for them when, like, they don't really like it, and they do want to just explore the real New York. But at the end, they do end up going to high school, and obviously we got a tease of Shredder, and it just ended really well. I thought this movie was great. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought the animation was stellar, and overall, I just really liked it.